Heck yeah. Copyright. Okay, so welcome to another podcast episode, everybody. So
Yes.
it's been a couple videos since we've done a new one, so
Exactly.
yep.
Yes, it has.
Now we're
Yes.
doing our sixth episode, and today we're going to be focusing on sports. Well, technically, per se, this episode is literally just going to be about me talking about WWE and wrestling in general to Caspin here, who is a
So,
complete newbie on wrestling.
so rather than sports, it's just a little
Yeah,
go-to guide on the world of WWE
yeah.
for someone like me who barely knows probably four wrestlers in the series. So,
Yeah, but before I forget, again, welcome to the ICduhweebs podcast, episode 6. So I am your host, Ivan, and this is my co-host, Caspin.
yes, indeed.
And if you don't know who we are, basically we like to discuss about things, talk about our different opinions on different types of things, and then no matter what we agree on, whether if we disagree on a certain view, we respect everything. That's our goal here.
We're also learning about, well, pretty much learning about each other's likes, dislikes, and so forth.
Exactly.
And today I am learning about the world of WWE.
Professional wrestling in general.
By the way, what does WWE stands for?
Okay, so WWE stands for World Wrestling Entertainment. So that in whole is the entire brand.
I see. Okay. For a second, I gotta admit that I came here looking like this. The thing that came to mind was Mike Tyson. That's not wrestling, that's boxing.
Yeah. Well, to
So,
be fair, Mike Tyson did appear in WWE several times, let alone like the other wrestling shows too.
I'm partially right,
Yes.
but mostly wrong, so
I mean, he's a wrestling fan, so.
it's fine. Alright, so, for someone that's completely has no idea, the only wrestlers I know of is Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, John Cena,
Yep.
um,
Good old Peacemaker.
The Undertaker.
Oh, okay.
I'm assuming I don't know his full name, so
Yeah.
that's fine.
It's literally the Undertaker.
And then what was the one you mentioned? David Batista?
Yeah, Batista.
Batista? Drax. I was about to say.
Yep. So you basically know all of the more popular wrestlers that transitioned from WWE to Hollywood, with the exception of the Undertaker.
Yes, pretty much.
Yeah. In regards to them, I'm assuming the reason why you knew like those are like the Hollywood ones, like John Cena, Dave Batista, and Dwayne The Rock Johnson, is because they transitioned into Hollywood, right? And that's how you knew them.
For John Cena, though, I think the first time I noticed him was there was more of the, it's like his meme of like, can't see me now, and just like,
Oh.
dun, 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 dun,
Yeah, yeah,
and
that
so
that
forth.
radio prank call, I think it was. What is that? And his name is John Cena. Is it that one?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
And his name is Johnson. Yeah, that one. I pretty much knew him before he became more of an actor, more of a Hollywood actor.
Yeah.
So then
Gotcha.
pretty much Dwayne was.
I'm
No.
pretty sure everyone by now knows who it's Dwayne
They
The
know
Rock
who
Johnson.
The Rock is.
Even before and after WWE.
when he had hair.
Oh my gosh, and he's not the best talker on the microphone in WWE. I'll get more into information about that later on.
All right, now
Yeah.
tell me about these. You said there's different types of for WWE.
Yeah. So in
companies.
general, there are different shows. So because of how large the roster is, they can't accumulate everyone into just one sitting in general. I mean,
Yeah.
they can do that, but it makes boring TV. So
it just takes too long, and people want it.
yeah. Because what they do is that they separate their stars into different brands so that one set of wrestlers compete on one show while the others compete in the other show. So for the most
like
popular
to-
shows.
Yes, please discuss these types of shows.
Yes, so the one that I'm going to be talking about first is this one here. So for those who can't see, this is the best of Raw. So Monday Night Raw, per se. So Monday Night Raw ran all the way from 1993 and it's still ongoing to this very day.
Is this the oldest one?
It is technically not the oldest, but is one of the more popular originals, I guess you could say.
Let's see. Okay.
There was a
IC,
wrestling show
is that
before
John
this.
Cena IC?
Yes.
Okay, sweet.
Everyone,
And Dwayne. Hey, look.
yeah, there's Triple H as well.
Is
There's
that
the
what his
Undertaker, as
name?
you mentioned. That's Stone Cold Steve Austin. That's Bret the Hitman Hart, and that's Shawn
Maybe
Michaels.
that's the one that I first saw.
Which one?
Like, no, the Raw
The Rock.
version.
Yeah.
No, the Raw type of
Oh, the one with hair and
WWE.
stuff.
Yes, where they actually.
Yeah. So basically, before they implemented both of the shows, everything was ran on just one show. So basically, they would take a bunch of superstars, or yeah, as they were called, superstars, not wrestlers. They would, of course, be like assigned to different matches, and they compete in front of a live audience, no matter where they come across in the United States. That's
Okay.
that's basically mostly it. So, depending on how popular a superstar is, that's the more likely they'll get featured on TV, such as these stars that you see on the DVD cover right now.
I
That's
see.
why John Cena's sort of like in the middle.
Of course, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So, do that. How much? By the way, how much types of these shows are there?
So
You got the Raw.
yeah, so at the moment, so there's Monday Night Raw, as I've shown here. And then there's the one for the Friday night shows, or sometimes Thursday, depending when you watch it. It's called SmackDown. Thursday night or Friday night SmackDowns, I call it.
Mm-hmm.
And then now, or before it was called ECW, or Extreme Championship Wrestling. But ever since that got out of the way, now they replaced it with NXT.
Is that the one that's current now, or
This is current.
current?
It's not this type of branded NXT, but basically, like I said, NXT is different from Raw and SmackDown because they focus more on the stars or the wrestlers that are developing on their way up to the main roster. So that
their
feature.
career.
Yes.
I
To show
see.
how big they could be. And honestly, some of them, not all of them, some of them very much succeeded on the main roster.
I see. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Like out of the ones that are on that cover, which one succeeded the most, if you can
Oh,
recall?
out of the okay, so for the ones that are actually featured on this
maybe,
cover,
maybe before, like
Yeah.
bring it closer to the camera for them to
Yeah.
see.
here, actually, let me stand behind the camera and show you guys. I'll put my belt here in the middle. By the way, for those who don't know, that's the Intercontinental title. If it's on camera, it's not on camera. Okay. But just to show you guys, so here's what the DVD cover looks like. So from top left to right, starting from the top, Sami Zayn, Big E. In the middle is Finn Balor, Kevin Owens, and Adrian Neville. And in the bottom, from bottom left, is Paige, Bayley, Sasha Banks, Charlotte Flair, and Becky Lynch. So out of all of these wrestlers right here, I would say the most popular, according to what I've shown to the camera, is this one right here, Becky Lynch. She's probably the most popular today. Her, and then from the top row, I'd probably say the one in the middle, Finn Balor.
Finn Balor, is he wearing? What is it? Wearing makeup? On?
Yes. In during his time in NXT, he has two different phases. So one is just his regular form, which is Finn Balor, but when he gets into the wrestling spirit, he turns into the demon Finn Balor. This is what he's called as the demon.
I see. I see.
So he decks himself out in like a demonic body paint and stuff, and he possesses the demon.
Does he bring the body paint with him on in the wrestling ring, or
No,
is it like,
he already has it applied
Ah.
beforehand. Yeah.
all right?
But yeah, so those are the main differences between the three shows. So out of the longest ones, it's definitely Monday Night Raw, followed by Friday Night SmackDown, and then NXT to follow.
Is the SmackDown still going or no?
Yes, it is.
It
So
is.
yes, it is still being held on Fridays as of this recording on. Well, right now it's on Fox. So I'm hearing that it's supposed to move to the USA Network, but Fox Network it is. So. Yeah, so they have their popular superstars as well. They end up succeeding as well. Well, to be fair, the reason why SmackDown started is because of The Rock.
I see.
Yeah,
I see.
it's one of his famous catchphrases. That's why.
Which is
Layeth the smacketh down.
lay it the smack it down.
Yeah,
I see.
And
That sounds interesting.
yeah. Hence why it's called SmackDown. So
Hmm.
Monday has Monday Night Raw. And then Friday has Friday Night SmackDown. And then Tuesdays technically has Tuesday Night NXT.
I see. I see.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty much all of them, they're still going on.
Yes, even to this day.
Okay. Okay. And which one was the oldest one out of them?
The
Because you
ol-
said
the oldest
Raw
show.
wasn't the oldest one.
No, I forgot what it's called. I believe it's called WWF when it was called back then. World Wrestling Federation Superstars.
Oh, maybe I think I did hear only hear about that.
Yeah.
Like I have no idea about anything about, it, but I have heard of that name before. So.
That was like back in like the early 90s, like late 80s.
Oh,
That's when it was like really popular back in the heyday.
I
Like, do you know
see.
who Hulk Hogan is?
Yes, he has blonde hair and
Yes. Yeah, that's
does he
him.
wear a mask like a red? Does he wear red?
Yes, red and
Okay.
yellow.
Okay, I have an idea. I have heard of Hulk Hogan
Do you know
before.
his theme song?
No.
I am a real American. Fight for the rights of every man. I can't sing anymore. I'm afraid to get copyrighted.
Hey, you're a fan. It's fine. It's not like you're singing the whole song.
Exactly, but still.
Okay. Oh
But
well.
yeah, do you recognize that at all?
Maybe, maybe not.
I think maybe
But
after this episode, I'm gonna let you hear the song. Let alone, I'm gonna show you some of like famous moments from like some of these wrestlers that I'm gonna talk about anyway. So,
all right. So,
but yeah, those are the three popular shows at the
three
moment.
popular, and there is more. I'm assuming, right?
Yes, there are. If you don't include the shows, there are the monthly pay-per-views. So they range from different, based on from what month it is. They run different shows, but in specific months they do what they call the Big Four. January,
Four.
yeah, January is called the Royal Rumble. April or March is WrestleMania, the biggest one.
I've heard about I've
Yes.
heard WrestleMania before.
August and July has SummerSlam. And November
Mm-hmm.
has Survivor Series. Those are the big major four
Survivor
pay-per-views.
Series.
Or
Wow.
premium live events, as they call it now.
Interesting, interesting.
So basically, what these shows would do is that they would build up the superstars, especially when they're in a rivalry with each other, and then when they go to a pay-per-view, that's when they settle things down. And so if they're like going for like a championship, or if they want to settle a rivalry between like two opponents against each other, they do it on any of those big stages, whether if it's like a pay-per-view or any of the big four that I mentioned.
Interesting,
Mm-hmm.
interesting. Okay. Um, what was I gonna say? Um, what got you into WWE? I would like to know.
Okay. So for me per se, one of the reasons why I got into WWE is because my brother sort of got into it, but I didn't really catch the glimpse of it at first because I thought it was like okay at best because I only knew some of the wrestlers that were competing by the time I was watching the television around that time.
What channel?
I believe it was. I think it was still USA. I could be wrong though.
Hmm.
Okay, but that wasn't my first show. Surprisingly, it's called WWE Superstars, but it's like that times version of Superstars. Because when I got into wrestling, it was around 2009. So around that time, there was basically a couple feuds that was going on that caught my interest. One of them was John Cena. Of course, you know him. And then, do you know who Randy Orton is? RKO.
No.
RKO.
So he invented the
Yes,
RKO?
that's his move. Yeah.
Interesting.
So basically, they had a really long feud against each other, and then that's how I sort of like gotten into it. But the match that I saw, and I could recall it, it was him. They were the both of those two together, and remember they were rivals at this time, so they hated each other.
Nice. Like actually, or like it
No,
was
it's a storyline.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll go a little more into detail about that later on. And then they were up against two opponents. So one of them, for those of you who watch All Elite Wrestling, it's Chris Jericho and Paul White, or technically back in WWE, he's known as the Big Show.
Interesting people.
Yeah, so, or as they call themselves, Jericho as a tag team. So, basically they were trying to, basically the two that hate each other versus the team that they're going up against. If I'm not mistaken, I believe John Cena and Randy Orton won the match, and I don't know, I thought it was interesting. So that sort of like was like my introduction to WWE to begin with. Surprisingly, not like one of the better matches per se, but it sort of like led my way into learning about WWE.
It was a guide. It was a path that led you to more
Yeah.
about WWE.
Yeah, because there was a point where it's like, okay, this is interesting, back in like 2009, and it took me until 2011 when I realized that I became an official wrestling fan. Like, I knew I loved wrestling.
I see.
Hmm.
By the way, I don't think I asked this, but uh, is there like what's the difference between these wrestling like Raw and SmackDown and the current
Like, the
well, I don't
differences,
even know there are current, but like
like the differences between both of the shows,
yeah,
or like, it's pretty much the same, basically. Again, it's just like whoever's on the show, that's what makes it different. So, usually when a majority of wrestling fans watch WWE shows like Raw or SmackDown, they watch it for the storylines. So,
sure, like
yeah,
that's the ones where it's like they're scripted. So
yeah,
whether
basically, quote unquote
this
scripted.
one is wins or the other one
Yeah,
doesn't.
basically. Yeah, so like how they say like wrestling's fake, that's sort of the main reason why. Because, yes, everything is basically told in a story form.
Mm,
So,
that's
um,
that's probably one big story. Holy
yes.
cow!
Actually, there's one big story that's been like lasting for a while now. So, for those of you who don't follow WWE right now, do you know who the wrestler Roman Reigns is?
Sure. We'll go with that. But for those that don't know, can you please elaborate?
You
Please tell us.
acknowledge your tribal chief, Roman Reigns. So basically, he is the current WWE Undisputed Universal Champion. So basically, he holds the Big Daddy belt. And so,
Like this Big
not
Daddy.
not this one. This one's actually one of my favorite belts, but it's not the main belt. So basically, the WWE belt in general is basically the WWE logo on it, and it's gold.
Oh, I
So
probably like this is like the ones they usually show.
yeah,
Like,
pretty much.
okay,
Yeah. So basically, he's parading around with the belt, and they're creating storylines with like wrestlers that are growing and trying to aim to win the title for the very first time. One of them that I'm sure a lot of you wrestling fans know about him right now. His name is Cody Rhodes. He is known as
hmm,
the American Nightmare.
the American Nightmare. Not, he is not the American Dream. He is the
No, his
Nightmare.
dad is the American Dream, though.
Oh,
Dusty
I
Rhodes.
see.
Rest in peace, Dusty Rhodes.
Was there a reasoning behind the name, or was it just something that
I think it's because of his dad. So his dad is the American Dream, and
he
then he
wanted to
became the
become the
American Nightmare.
Nightmare?
Yeah, honestly, it works for him though, because the way how like he portrays himself as a character and the way how he establishes himself, it makes it all the more enthusiastic to watch him grow and like see him
It
like
starts
win the big
building
title.
up his character
Yeah,
in
pretty
a
much.
way.
Think of it like you're leveling up like a Pokemon, basically. You
Yes.
start things off small, right? So, but the thing is, it won't be like an expert right away, right? You have to keep training it until it becomes better and better. It's sort of like how you want a popular wrestler to become. Like, for
Mm.
example, let me
Yeah,
take the.
mold
Yeah,
this
yeah.
character, this
Yeah.
this wrestler, starting from the beginnings all the way to wherever he is now.
Exactly. Let me take, for example, our current champion, Roman Reigns. He wasn't the champion that we knew of today back years ago. So he was also wrestling, not necessarily NXT, before it was called FCW or Florida Championship Wrestling. And he was like one of, if not the least popular superstar or wrestler back then. And then basically, when he ended up joining the main roster with two of his wrestling buddies, I guess you could say, they ended up becoming popular because of them as a trio. Then when they split, then he became popular and started building up his character more and more. The only problem was his mic skills. So
His
because of that, everyone
mic,
started hating him.
his what?
Mic skills, so his ability to talk on a microphone.
Oh,
Yeah.
was it just what like was it something he said, or it's like the way he
If
says?
you're a wrestling fan, I'm pretty sure you know the promo "Suffering Succotash" by now. Such a piece of suffering succotash. Oh no, I forgot how it goes, but I hated that so much. That was one of the main reasons why so many wrestling fans hated Roman Reigns, because he cannot speak on the mic. It's not only because of that too. It's also because that he was also one of the most hated guys, because the head honcho around that time, Mr. McMahon, or Vince McMahon as everyone knows by him, pushes him to be the top guy in WWE when everyone else that's not Vince McMahon absolutely does not care about Roman Reigns.
See, and yet he's the champion.
Yes, but here's the thing. So after the pandemic hit for the first time, right? He went away, right? And then when he came back, of course everyone would hate on him. But here's the catch. He became a bad guy, or he turned heel. And then that's when everyone started cheering him again.
They started cheering him because he became a bad guy.
Yeah. And then not only that too, because of his time out, he ended up becoming better as a wrestler and better as a character.
He could probably also speak better
Yeah.
on the mic.
Yeah, what made it all the more better too is because I want to say,
Is that the one that I saw that one time?
yes, I believe so. So before I want to say 2019 or no, 20 yeah, 20 before 2021. So 2021 prior, a majority of the wrestlers, whatever they have to say on the microphone is scripted, right? So they have to say things like almost literally word for word. But now, because of what's happening nowadays, the wrestlers basically have the freedom to express whatever they want to say on the mic. But it has to relate to the storyline that they're in, if that makes sense.
And for those that don't follow, like, I'm assuming there's going to be penalties and all that. Either that or
Yes.
there's like problems with their contract and
Yes.
in the background of this wrestling.
Yes, there were wrestlers that were actually fined or even got in trouble or even suspended
Can you give
for
us
going
an
on.
example of one, if you can?
So for like one example for like a wrestler breaking character. Okay, so let's say for example, okay, so there's this one wrestler who he's actually currently not in WWE right now, although he was pretty popular with like everyone. He goes by the name of Matt Riddle. So basically, he was a good wrestler. I liked him, but
Like when it comes to like his character, or like when he actually like wrestled
his
the
character is great. His wrestling abilities was also great.
Okay.
But the thing is that he 420s. So, and there's before they implemented it in WWE's legal systems, they heavily influenced that, and that got him into trouble. So, of course, suspensions occurred. So,
see.
but there are more far superior like weird suspensions and like other bad things that happen to wrestlers too, other than just that. So,
All right. Interesting.
but yeah, things like that could happen from time to time. So,
All right. So, besides the wrestling matches that include scripts and the story and all that, what about the ones that? Because I know some people love the story, but I'm pretty sure there's other people that love the actual like fights, the actual wrestling, right?
yes.
So please explain about that.
In my opinion, when it comes to having a great wrestling match, it has to work with the story that's involved in. Like I said before too, when you have a show on Raw or SmackDown with two people going up against each other, they continue their rivalry by talking smack on the mic. But on the sidelines, they'll also verse other opponents that is not who they're going up against. Like they'll tease it from time to time. Like they will
If
like
it's like a tag battle.
yeah. They'll
Or
basically like
just
tag team
someone
matches.
randomly joins
Yeah.
in the match.
Exactly. Sometimes we'll actually see like the two like maybe like duking it out from time to time because of their hatred, but they save it for the big event. That's when it all blows off. So let me give you one example, and this is, in my opinion, the reason why I became a wrestling fan. This here on the cover is CM Punk. He's the guy that recently returned back in Survivor Series.
If you would like
this year.
to show the camera.
Yeah, so
close.
this is Money in the Bank 2011. what's so special about this is that I actually attended this event live with my family. So I actually witnessed this in person, watching my first ever quote unquote Dave Meltzer 5-star match.
Was it really crowded when you went?
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
everyone was having a blast.
Was there
Holy
air
moly.
conditioning during there?
If you count the rowdy or the amount of people screaming in your ears and the amount of body heat accessing all throughout, then maybe.
Oh, mm.
Okay, so basically, before his rivalry started, so he was feuding against John Cena, right?
Mm.
Um,
Him?
yeah, yeah,
One on
CM
the
Punk
cover?
versus John Cena. So in the back, yeah. So here's the story. So before their match started, CM Punk told everyone that his contract with WWE is about to expire. But the catch is that he's going to be bringing the WWE Championship belt with him.
Oh.
Yeah.
I see.
But John Cena and others in the company won't allow him to do it. Keep in mind though, this is when John Cena was the good guy and CM Punk was the bad guy. So babyface is the term that we use for the good guys, and then heels are what we use,
Babyface?
yeah, for the
Interesting.
bad guys.
Is there a reasoning behind the names Babyface and the heels?
I honestly don't remember, but that's like what we normally call it in wrestling terms. I think there's a reason behind it. I just don't remember what it is per se. So, basically, for their
Babyface.
rivalry, it was just CM Punk going on the mic, telling John Cena and Vince McMahon about like what he's going to do when he's out of WWE, what he's going to do with the belt, and then basically parade in different like promotions and stuff, and basically talk smack about the WWE in general. Um, Leading up to their rivalry at this event, Money in the Bank 2011.
Money Bank it's like where like you got the wrestlers in the ring and then I'm assuming like maybe there's a case of money that's like either hanging from I don't know a rope or something and they wrestle each other in order to get the suitcase of money.
You're actually not wrong. So, Money in the Bank as a concept is basically a bunch of superstars ranging from like 4 to like maybe like 8 or 10, 12, depending on how many are competing.
In like a tournament kind of setup.
Not
No,
necessarily a tournament. Everyone's fighting against each other.
it's like anyone can join in.
Yeah.
Let's
Well,
just throw them
well,
all.
first they qualify for it. That's
Oh,
the reason why.
yeah.
So that's what SmackDown and Raw's for. So they qualify on those shows and then they participate
I
and they
see.
fight in the show.
Okay.
So basically, if you know what a ladder match is, so
It's like they have to climb the ladder, but then
Yes.
of course other people will be like either knock the ladder,
Yes,
or
exactly.
just throw the guy off the ladder so they can climb up the. I'm
Yes,
assuming
exactly.
it's like a really tall ladder just to reach the suitcase.
Yes, basically. And then whoever snatches the briefcase first basically wins the match. And then typically, when it comes to Money in the Bank, so whoever wins it basically is the number one contender for the WWE Championship or any of the championship of their choosing. As long as they're able to cash it in and successfully pin or submit their opponent, then they become the official champion anytime they want.
Is that for those kinds of matches? Are they scripted? Like there's one that will definitely get, or is like anyone can try and do it with no like
I
script or like
honestly, I want to say it is scripted, but I'm not 100% certain. All I know is that as long as each superstar involved in the match performs a specific spot, as what they call, or a famous wrestling move that they're known for, and make the match exciting to make the crowd anticipated and like make them want to like watch the match forever and ever.
what kind of these special moves and tech whatever some of these wrestlers, do you know of any?
I know one thing's for sure. If Randy Orton's involved in a Money in the Bank, he will actually do an RKO off the top of the ladder all the way to the bottom of the ring.
It's like he gets to the top of the ladder. It's like, oh, I could reach for the suitcase,
Yep.
or I could just RKO this guy.
But to be fair, it doesn't give his opponent a chance to actually climb back up and try to achieve the briefcase.
Sounds like the better plan.
There's another spot that I remember. So, for those of you who might know this as wrestling fans, so there's a ladder set up, right? And then on the outside, there's another ladder set up, like
Just
facing
okay.
like this.
Maybe,
Yep.
maybe not.
Yep. So one opponent's on one side, and then the other opponent's on the other side. Basically, they're punching each other, right? And then this one throws his opponent over the ladder, and he sends his way out of the ring through the other ladder.
Oh,
Yep,
that sounds painful.
it is. Yeah. Like they say that WWE wrestling's fake. Yeah, the injuries are real. Yeah, that's just one.
Try and act that out.
Yeah.
Oh, my back.
Yeah. One of my other favorite spots that I could think of in a Money in the Bank. So one of them was actually like climbing up the top turnbuckle, and they were holding one of the smaller ladders, right? And then outside of the ring were a bunch of the other competitors. He backflips across with the ladder and lands on top of his opponents with the ladder. For
Wait,
those,
so it's like you got the guy that's being pinned down, you have the wrestler, and then he's holding the ladder. So I was like,
oh no, there were no. So the situation was there were I think like 5 opponents outside of the ring, ringside. They were all standing and fighting each other. The one standing on the turnbuckle is literally holding the ladder, and he backflips outside of the ring. So
oh,
yeah, so he lands on the standing opponents fighting each other, and he takes them all out.
that sounds so painful.
Yeah.
Interesting.
There are other more spots that I could go with, but I want to continue on with this too. So to continue on with the
I
storyline,
am
as I
the
was
one that brought it up.
yeah,
So.
yeah, the one bringing or the one leading up to the storyline at the end with CM Punk going up against John Cena. It's actually the main event of this, which was the reason why we ended up watching it
And
live.
it happened in 2011.
Yes. So it was funny too because we bought it for as we bought the tickets as like a birthday gift for my brother, but we didn't realize how much fun it was when we anticipated the atmosphere when we watched it live. Because during the match, it was literally going back and forth, and of course they were in Chicago, the hometown of CM Punk. And then remember when I told you that CM Punk is usually the bad guy?
Yeah.
Anytime he's in Chicago, he's always the good guy.
He's like the hero of the people.
Yeah. And keep in mind too, this was like around the time when I was transitioning from like being like an average viewer of wrestling to become like a professional wrestling
like
fan.
An official fan.
Yeah. Because I would always cheer the good guys and I hate the bad guys, right? So I would technically hate CM Punk. This was me going into the match, thinking that, okay, I cheer John Cena because he's the good guy. And then here comes CM Punk, who's the bad guy. All of a sudden...
You hear everyone else like...
No, I 180 when everyone started cheering for CM Punk when his music played. Yeah, oh my gosh. I want to say like 95% of the audience inside that arena were going nuts over CM Punk's entrance music when he walked all the way down from the ramp, all the way in the ring. And then when John Cena came out and his music hit, oh my gosh, it was like a war zone.
It was the other way around.
Yeah, John Cena stepped into a war zone. Like, good luck to him surviving the night, walking away with the title belt.
See.
Yeah. And then, of course, throughout
this is like, you didn't know, like, you didn't exactly know what was going on when that happened? Or like...
No, I knew how the wrestling worked in general. It was, like, my transition of understanding what it meant to like specific wrestlers. Like, again, like I mentioned before, I'd always like the good guys and I hate the bad guys. But this was the night when I learned that the bad guys are actually cooler than the good guys.
Is there any other quote-unquote bad guys, the heels that...
Yes.
that
Even
you
today,
like?
there are really cool bad guys that everyone absolutely loves. One, I already mentioned earlier, Roman Reigns.
See, interesting.
Yeah. And to finish that song off real quick. So, yeah, he ends up winning, and then he actually walks away with the belt. He's walking away from the company and kissing...
What about the suitcase of money? It's like...
Okay, so the Money in the Bank winners around this time...
It's all prop. It's like Monopoly money in there.
To be fair, though, CM Punk did return back to WWE, and the one that won the Raw's version of Money in the Bank cashed it in on CM Punk, and he actually beat him for it. But a month later, he ended up losing it back to CM Punk.
Interesting. Against who? Or
For those of you who haven't seen it, who I'm referring to, his name is Alberto Del Rio. And we don't usually talk about him.
I guess I won't talk about.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
But yeah, that's like mostly how storylines go. Again, it's all started on either Raw or SmackDown, and then builds up to a bigger pay per view. Hence, like Money in the Bank 2011.
now they're all building up to wherever they are at now.
Yes.
But I would like to ask, I am a little curious.
Yes.
Curious, when they started, like, they would have like their cool titles and names, depending on whatever they wear. Like, what do you know? Like how they would where this idea comes from, their
Oh.
inspiration and whatnot.
Usually they would have multiple ideas that come to mind because when they actually do go out to compete, they don't get to choose their gimmicks, what they call. Basically, it's what the heads would think of. So like whoever's in charge of them, whoever's like producing their matches and stuff.
So you don't even get to be like if like for example like this one person is like he already has like some kind of theme or idea that if he ever wants it to be a professional wrestler and all
Yep.
that, but then once he gets contracted and all that, his boss is like, yeah, you're gonna be this other person where you're telling me that that would mostly happen.
No, to be fair,
Maybe.
let me give you an example. So let's take a look at The Rock. So people know The Rock by the way how he's like very popular when it comes to movies nowadays, right?
Yes.
In the very beginning, when he first started wrestling, he was one of the most despised wrestlers in the business. There were even chants of people saying, "Die, Rocky, die." That's how bad it was for him. So basically, what his gimmick was is that he took his father's name, Rocky Johnson, and then I think it was his uncle or his grandpa's last name, Maivia. So he was Rocky Maivia. And then when he would come out to wrestle, he would wear like flashy clothes. He has like armbands and stuff. And he's like high fiving everybody. He's like that go to lucky baby face and stuff. But because of how cheesy and how unlikable the gimmick was, he, yeah, they basically, Rock was basically on the verge of like stopping. But the thing that made him change was when they turned him heel.
He turned into a bad guy.
Yeah. And because of that, they allowed him to speak on the mic more. And this was during the time when the wrestlers actually had freedom to say whatever they wanted on the mic. And because of that, the popularity of Dwayne The Rock Johnson
As a
grew and
bad
grew.
guy.
Yeah. He was the most loved bad guy
When
back
he
then.
had hair and everything.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Interesting.
And his amazing feud.
Rocky, was it Rocky
Rocky Maivia.
Maivia?
Yeah. And then he became The Rock afterwards.
That I see. Interesting.
And then his feud with Stone Cold Steve Austin. Oh man, that was amazing.
Interesting story. I honestly, it's not what I was expecting of The Rock.
Yeah. That's how it started for him. That's how we all knew him originally in the wrestling world.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And like, of course, I have no idea. So that's very interesting.
Yeah. And then, of course, like wrestling and then transitioning into Hollywood and stuff. And then when he would come back, he'd become a cocky bad guy again. Everyone would hate him because he
actually
left.
came back.
Yeah, he did. He actually came back several times. Actually, he came back this year, too. It was amazing. It was for a short, brief time, but it was fun to see him back. Yeah. But during his times back when he came back from Hollywood, he actually wrestled against John Cena. Not once, but twice. That was
You know
pretty
who
fun.
won? Out
Yeah.
of
Huh?
Do you know who won out of those two?
Okay, so they had two WrestleMania matches. In my opinion, was stupid, but they should have just kept one. So the first one was originally won by The Rock. In my opinion, it should have just stopped right
Was it
there.
scripted?
I wouldn't say it's scripted, but yeah.
What are the chances? Yes. Okay.
Yeah, and then the next year, it was John Cena versus The Rock again. Oh, except this time, it was for the WWE title. Around that time, The Rock was actually the champion. Surprise, surprise, he won it against CM Punk.
Ah.
Yeah. Oh, before I forget, so when CM Punk won the world title against Alberto Del Rio, he held it for over a year and lost it to The Rock at that year's Royal Rumble.
Ah,
Yeah.
I see.
I hated that so much. That was one of the worst decisions I could. That's how you know that you're a true wrestling fan. You cheer for the actual wrestler and not for the Hollywood guy. So I was going crazy for CM Punk, while like everyone who like doesn't understand WWE would cheer for The Rock.
Just because he was like popular in
Yeah,
movies
yeah.
and stuff. So
Yeah,
I
but he
see.
was a great wrestler. Even when he came back, he was still great. Like he hasn't lost a step.
Okay.
Yeah, and then he had a match, or The Rock had a match with John Cena that year's WrestleMania and lost to John Cena.
Interesting.
Hmm.
Now, of course, of seeing of all these DVDs, the majority, almost all of them, they have guys.
Hmm.
When was it they started introducing women? Not to offend, just out of curiosity. Like, since I don't know, because like,
No, they actually had women's wrestling years ago.
years
Honestly,
ago,
they popularized it back, I believe, in the '80s. I could be wrong though.
it was just wasn't honestly just wasn't as popular as all these other
Yeah, but
guys.
but when it came to like how big Japanese women's wrestling became, it was it wasn't until mid 2010s when they actually like put women on notice, because before, when you see women wrestling on television, it's like, oh, pee break, oh, it's time to get some snacks,
Wow,
oh,
that's so rude.
yeah. No, here's the problem though. It's because like when those wrestlers were featured on television, either one, they didn't know how to wrestle properly and were just put in for TV time.
I can see actually, I
Yeah.
can see that now.
Yeah, or two, they knew how to wrestle but they don't have the right opponent.
Ah, it's like an
Yeah.
unfair match that just
Yeah, basically.
didn't caught the interest of the majority of.
Yeah, exactly. Because a majority of like women's wrestlers, like especially in the late 2000s and like early 2010s, they were like, I don't want to say it because I know there's some really that are really good. I have to admit, most of the wrestling was boring.
Hmm.
Like nothing was interesting to
It's your
watch.
opinion. Nothing's wrong.
Yeah, nothing's interesting to watch with those matches. They only lasted like 5 minutes. No one cared about the storylines.
How long does it take for like a normal match? Like the average kind of
Like for like guys and girls in general.
for like the guys.
If we're
Yeah, guys and
if
girls.
we're talking about like a regular standardized TV match, it could go up about like between 5 to 10 minutes, depending on how good the match is. Like if you're
That's
expect
also it could even be longer because
yeah,
of scripts and stories and
yeah.
whatnot.
If you expect like one of the bigger wrestlers to appear on television, expect that wrestler to have longer TV time,
Yeah.
basically. Yeah,
And
and then if you're like a what they call a jobber, or who like a wrestler that just shows up and then leaves, so they only last for like maybe like a couple minutes and then that's it. Or is what they call squash matches, where they
squash.
yeah, where they take a wrestler, and they verse what they call the jobber, who basically can't do anything, is just defenseless. The wrestler attacks the jobber, pins him 1, 2, 3, and that's it. The match is over. That's a
It's
squash
like
match.
the what? Wait, so okay, the jobber is the one that's being pinned down, and
Yes, the one that's getting
does
pummeled.
the jobber has no no option to
No,
fight back. He just
no. Yeah, they're basically like the weak, defenseless type of wrestlers.
wow. I can't imagine some people that actually volunteer to be considered to be the jobber.
Yeah. Well, they're actually like, as I imagine it, like tiers when it comes to wrestling status. So there's the jobber status. It's the lowest on the card. So that means that either one, you don't get featured on TV at all, and you're sitting in the back at catering, as they call it, doing nothing.
Oh, that's
Yeah. Or two, you do get featured on the show, but you get squashed.
I mean, I feel like out of those two options you just mentioned, I think it's better to just get squashed.
Exactly. At
You
least you're
get
featured on TV
notice on
too.
TV and at least some recognition,
Yeah.
and you get to yeah.
Exactly. The next one that I want to call is the low card. So basically, they do get appearances from time to time, and they actually do get a decent amount of time wrestling on screen, but they're not as big and popular. And then
See,
there's the mid card.
you gotta start somewhere. Yes.
And then Yeah, there's the mid card level. So these are the guys that are like on their way to becoming main eventers. So main eventers is the top tier, right? Mid the mid tier basically what they do is they aim for like the secondary titles, like the United States Championship, and then this one, like the one that I was displaying earlier, the Intercontinental Championship title. I absolutely love this title belt.
I messed that up.
Yeah, they aim for these type of belts basically, and they build a storyline with superstars then for these type of titles, and of course the main eventers aiming for the big goals themselves.
Interesting.
And then there's also one on the side that I like to call the tag team division.
Yes. There's
And-
like
Yeah, they have their own storylines. They have their own tag title belts and everything. So yeah, and then of course like the women's also have the same thing too.
Has there ever been matches where it's like mixed? You got women and
Yes,
men?
actually, there were plenty of stuff back in the day, where men and women would actually. Well, of course, the rules were that the men could go only against the men, and then women could only go up against the women.
Yes, because of course,
Yeah, because you don't want to.
physique and
It's not just because of physique.
not physique. It's just like
No, but media in general, because of how highly offended someone could get if they see like a guy punching a girl.
yeah, I could see that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
actually, some like I forgot what year. I think I want to say 2019. So
Oh, more recent.
yeah, it was actually a married couple going up against another duo. So like, so the baby faces were the married couple, right? And they were going up against like two of the most hated guys.
I mean,
Or one-
there could be a married couple there because
Yeah.
they're bad guys.
Yeah, the hated guy and the hated girl. Like the crowd actually hated them. Me too.
Ah,
Yeah, and during the match,
I'm assuming you know the people.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So during the match, the good on the good side, the girl that was coming in, that was trying to defend off her husband, was attacked by the opponent, and he hit his finisher on her. So the finisher is the final move, right? And then, of course, the husband snaps, breaks him, and then pins him for the win. But what got them in trouble was, of course, the guy hitting his finisher on the girl, because it's offensive for a guy to hit a girl.
Was it like an accident that happened, or
No,
like
he
they
meant to
did it
do
on
it.
purpose?
He did it on purpose. But I sort of also find it ironic too, because there were also women that actually fought against men, and they had no problems with that back in the day. Here's the thing though, even today, there are still wrestling companies outside of WWE that have women and men versing each other, and they're okay with it. Like, yeah,
Show some equality.
yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, it seems off because, like, of course, it's like men versus men and then women versus
I
women.
mean,
But
it's like, well, for the matches, it's like the women does want to face against a man, and
Yeah.
a man wants to face.
there actually have been occasions where, like, with like current WWE superstars that actually done that in the Indies that transferred into WWE. They actually fought each other in outside companies, but when they're in WWE, they're basically like friends.
Like rivalry,
Yeah.
friendly rivals.
Yeah. I want to give you one example. So for those of you who watched NXT back in its heyday, you probably know the name Johnny Gargano. Oh, sorry, the laundry's done. Johnny Gargano. Yeah, so yeah, basically he's called Mr. NXT for a reason. Everyone loves him. And then his wife, her name is Candice LeRae. They didn't meet in WWE. They met outside. And not only that, they were even opponents from time to time. They fought and wrestled each other. And oh my gosh. I'm not gonna lie, some of their matches together were actually really good.
See, interesting,
Mm-hmm.
interesting.
And then they ended up becoming a married couple. So how much
It works out in the
Yeah.
end. I see. Interesting.
so honestly, if they did like men against women, I'm totally okay with it.
Yes.
I
yes.
understand why people would be offended by that though, but for me, I'd be highly interested
Some,
in watching
yes,
that again.
some people would be interested,
Yeah.
and some, of
Yeah,
course.
some people would be sensitive, and I completely understand that. So,
Interesting. Now, I noticed that one of these DVD, quote unquote DVDs, one of them is actually a game.
Yeah. Actually, I have two of them with me.
Two of them. Would you like to show?
Yeah. So I was gonna go build up too. So this is when CM Punk was popular in his heyday. So this is WWE 13. This is a game that released in 2012. So when this took place in 2011, this game released about a year after.
Yes.
Yeah, this game released the year after Money in the Bank 2011, and the popularity of CM Punk rose, and basically because of his win in Money in the Bank and like everything that led up to that occasion, made him the cover superstar of this game.
I can see that
Yeah.
now.
But specifically, the reason why I also enjoy WWE 13 in general is not just because of like how like CM Punk is the cover superstar, but there's a mode in the game where you get to play um, a game version of one of wrestling's most famous eras back in the day. From the late 90s, I want to say 1997 all the way to 2001, that phase was called the Attitude Era.
Interesting.
Back when everyone was like going haywire as a wrestling fan. Like if you see them on the streets, like you could tell that they're hardcore wrestling
The
fans.
paparazzi is
Yeah.
showing up with
Yeah.
that cameras, got whatever they
Yeah.
want autographed and whatnot.
Yeah, heck, this was when The Rock made his name.
As the bad guy, right?
Yeah. Or a good guy from time to time. It was The Rock, and then do you know who Stone Cold Steve Austin is?
Heard of that name, but don't know.
Okay. I'm going to show. So, this guy right here. This guy. Bald head. Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Bald head, yes.
Yeah. But in my opinion, he's one of my favorite wrestlers of all times.
Okay.
Yeah, because of like the no he doesn't give a crap attitude. Like he's the one guy that will like fight against his own boss and will not care for it. Heck, they even made a storyline where it's literally just the anti-hero, which is Stone Cold Steve Austin, versus Vince McMahon, the villain or the boss of the company, like the final boss.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That would make an interesting story of that.
Yeah, and honestly, their rivalry played out very well, even to this day, where they acknowledge it from time to time. So, like, yeah, I told you like the concept about finishers already, right?
Yes.
So, Stone,
Is the RKO a
yeah,
finisher?
the RKO, yes, it is a finisher. I'll also touch into more detail on the finishers later on. So basically, Stone Cold's finisher is what they call the Stone Cold Stunner. So what he does is kick his opponent in the gut and takes his opponent by the head and sits down while the opponent hits his jaw on his shoulder and flies back. Yeah, in my opinion, the best person to ever take the Stone Cold Stunner was The Rock.
Did the Rock lost to him?
Yeah, plenty of times, and then vice versa. Yeah, but Stone Cold Steve Austin was the first ever superstar to hit a stunner on his own boss.
Was he? Like this was like on purpose. Like it's like even the boss decided to do this, or was it like
I think
it's
he
just-
actually did decide. I think this was actually part of a storyline, but it made for good television. It was really
Yeah.
exciting.
Imagine doing that to do your finisher to your own boss, and it's like
did.
it's like no penalty whatsoever. It's like
No, but what made it all the more interesting too is because they were going up against a rival wrestling show around that time called World Championship Wrestling. So it was basically WWF versus WCW.
okay.
And then, of course, WWE won, and the rest is sort of history of that.
Did you talked about TK19?
Oh, no, not yet. So I was also going to slightly bring this up. It was like also one of my favorite current games to play nowadays from time to time. Like I can't access the online features as much. I think I can't access it now, but yeah, this is one of the more popular games as of today. So for those who don't know, on the title cover here, this is AJ Styles. He's actually popular from another wrestling company too. That's not WWE. It's called TNA, Total Nonstop Action. Because he was like their like child or oh shoot, what was it called? He was their superstar, I guess you could say, in TNA, but because of like contract issues and I think like negotiations that went wrong, he ended up quitting. he ended up becoming big in an outside company that's not WWE, New Japan Pro Wrestling, where he became a leader of a popular group or faction. And because of that, he made a surprise to WWE. And then in 2016 was the first time we ever seen a quote-unquote TNA star in a WWE ring. And even to this day, he's still with the WWE, and so very thankful for that.
Out of these two games, which one would you consider your favorite?
Okay, I'm not gonna lie, I actually do prefer WWE 13. The reason why is because of nostalgia.
That's
Yeah,
okay.
nostalgia reasoning. Because I had always played with my brother. So the thing is that after I played the Attitude Era mode, there's a thing called Universe mode where you get to create your own storylines, you get to create your own fights.
You pretty much can you create your own character?
Yeah, I created my own character and I simulated my own fights with like rivalries that I had with other opponents back then. So from time to time, I would be the good guy or I make myself the bad guy and then fight against those superstars back in the day. I even created like my own entrance. I created my own video, like what you see when the wrestlers walk out, like all that type of things too.
I would like to try that at some point. At some point.
Yeah, even from time to time, I always like to think of myself like coming out to like entrance music anytime I like come out of a room or something.
I see. I can imagine myself doing that whenever I come out of the bathroom.
Not, I wouldn't say the bathroom, but
fought a war in there.
yeah, I already have two songs in mind that I imagine myself as a wrestler from time to time, and I already have like two songs that I'd love to come out as. They're Vocaloid songs, but in my opinion, it just works somehow.
Because somehow make it work.
Yeah, and it fits the character that I am, so, or that I portray myself as.
Interesting. Now, the one more, well, probably more, but the one thing I do want to ask, because a certain time, the one thing I do want to ask is some of these, whether if it's a finisher or a wrestling moves, like RKO, the camel clutch and all that.
Yeah. How like each of them like got their own names.
That and then like just what are some that whether if they're basic or it's like a signature move of a certain wrestler. And
Okay, I'll give you like the basic ones first, and then tell me if you think you have an idea of what the move is called. Suplex.
I've heard of it so many times. The first thing that comes to mind for a suplex is the German suplex.
Yes,
right?
that is.
You hold them and just.
Yes, that's the German suplex.
Just like.
Yep, that is a regular wrestling move. Surprisingly, wrestlers have used that as a finisher, especially when they what I like to call the snap German suplex, where they do it really fast. But
Yeah.
the wrestler taking it looks scary, like he legit hits his head on the mat.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, that is a real wrestling move. So at least you got that down. Do you know what the super kick is?
The super kick.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's like just. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
Like, it could be like any kick, but I'm assuming it just.
Okay. Yeah. So I'll demonstrate. So
I'll be the guy that's being kicked.
so basically,
We got act this out, scripted.
the wrestlers on the side here, and then what they would do is that they go on the side, and then extend their right or left leg, and then their foot would hit them on the chin. That's what they would call a super kick.
Would the person being hit like flip back?
Yeah,
or
he would
like,
fall back basically, or because now it's basically a basic move now. He could just like fall back to the ring and try to come back.
That's what the person can like actually reach. the
Exactly. Yeah, they could do that. Do you know what a clothesline is?
kick. Also, I have heard of it. However, I have no idea how it looks.
Okay, so basically, if you're the guy that's taking the move, what the wrestler doing the clothesline would do, extend their arm out like this and go for the neck.
It's like when you like you're hitting them with.
Yeah, basically your entire arm.
It's just like knocking them, or it's like
Yeah,
the person will like.
basically, yeah. So you're taking them
in a way,
down.
it's like a throat chop.
Yeah, basically.
In a way, it's like a throat chop. However, you're knocking them down.
Yeah, those are just like some of the basic moves.
So that's what that is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you know what a drop kick is by now.
Of course, I've seen Bane do it a lot of times.
Yeah, 2 feet in the air, you hit your opponent, and then you fall back down.
You know, you're getting hurt a little from it.
Yeah. Well, when I used to own a trampoline, I'd always practice drop kicks. This is my favorite wrestling move to do.
Yeah, that's probably interesting.
Yeah. And then, of course, yeah, you have your elbow drops, you have, like, forearm smashes, you have your normal punches, you have kicks.
And then tell me some of these good old finishers besides the one that I've heard that I know of.
Okay, so you know the popular ones. So you know RKO.
RKO.
Yeah. You know
It's
Stone
like
Cold
they
Stunner.
grab the person, their head, and just like.
Yes. So they grab. Yeah, they grab their head. Yeah, the stunner, right? Yeah, grab their head and then drop the wrestler. Yeah, the wrestler who's taking the move follows the guy's shoulder down and then basically flies back. Yep. Another wrestler that I think you may or may not know, his name is Rey Mysterio. Have you heard that name before?
Maybe the Mysterio part, but I don't know.
Do you know his finisher, the 619?
Nope.
Okay, so basically, this is a very popular special, or very special finisher, and this is the reason why I loved him. He was my favorite wrestler as a kid. So basically, his opponent dangles on the second rope. What Ray would do, he would run against the other ropes.
Oh, like
yeah.
on the ropes, like as if the person's like.
The wrestler would hang like this, basically, yeah.
As if he's like
Yep.
close to being finished.
Yeah. Ray would run to the other side, swing on the ropes, and then hit both of his knees or his legs on the opponent's face.
Oh.
The opponent lies back and hits the ground, and then Ray would either go from the ropes or climb to the turnbuckle and or it's what they call splash on them. So basically, they dive their entire body on top of the opponent.
A body slam.
Yeah, and then they pin 1, 2, 3.
That
That was hands down one of my favorite finishers back in the day. Why I really enjoy Rey Mysterio.
What's your favorite today?
My favorite?
As
CM Punk. Okay, I gotta explain to you CM Punk's finisher. He's also one of my favorite current finishers too. So basically, he does something what is called the go to sleep. Technically, it's not his move, but he popularized it in the States.
See.
So the move is basically you get your opponent in what they call the fireman's carry. So what that means is that
It's like you're carrying the person on your shoulder.
yes. So basically, his head is leaning on his left side here, and he's holding onto the leg on the right side. He squats down for a second. He lifts his opponent up, goes over his shoulder, and he knees them straight in the face.
Oh, in the face?
In the face. Yep, that's a go to sleep.
Oh my gosh, that really sounds.
It is dangerous. To be fair, to show you how dangerous it is, I've actually attempted the move in person with my brother, and I actually made him cry.
What is wrong?
That's how dangerous.
What is wrong with you?
That was dangerous.
Why would
no,
you do?
because for me, I was stupid because I didn't realize how to properly execute the move. That's why I heard it.
Is it like also like in that way? Was it at maybe at the time? It's like you also had to make it look like
Realistic.
make it look realistic.
Yeah.
But then it's like
Because when I saw it back in the day when I was a kid, I thought it was real. Like you actually see like
yeah,
people like getting hit in the
Like-
nose.
getting like nosebleed and
Yeah,
whatnot.
it actually happened to a wrestler in WWE. Not with CM Punk though, but another guy. He was actually the originator of the move and actually fractured one of his opponent's noses.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, because of how hard he hit his knee. That's
my
one of the most
gosh.
devastating finishers I've ever seen, and to this day, I absolutely love that move.
Does anyone still like try to attempt that?
Yes, plenty. It's not just CM Punk. There are other plenty of superstars too. Like I mentioned earlier, Matt Riddle. He also does his version of it, but he does it on the opposite knee. Let's see what else.
Interesting.
Yeah. Let me.
Holy cow.
Okay. Let me do a couple other more superstars too. Another one that's similar to the go to sleep, John Cena's finisher. So his finisher is called the attitude adjustment, or is what
I
he
have heard of that.
yeah, or as he calls it back in the day, F you. So basically, this move is what he takes his opponent on the shoulder, just like John Cena, right? But instead of like going over his shoulder and like kneeing him in the face, instead he lifts his opponent from the legs and slams them to the ground. Yeah, that's an attitude adjustment, or as he calls it, the F you.
Interesting.
Yeah. Have you heard the name Brock Lesnar?
No.
Okay, so he's a big muscular guy, and basically, John Cena's finisher was named after his finisher, the F5. Again, opponent carried in the position, and this is how I worked my finisher too. So basically, he spins his opponent over his head, and he lies them to the ground. So basically, whoever's taking the move face plants on the ground.
I see. I see.
Yeah, falling off the guy's shoulder. Oh, that's another move that I forgot to mention to you earlier too. Do you know what a DDT is?
Nope. No, I don't.
Okay.
Well, probably once I see it, maybe
Yeah.
I'll.
So basically, it's when an opponent takes the head, just like this, and they drop to the ground, so the opponent's head hits the ground.
Oh.
So the wrestler who's doing the move falls back, but the other guy taking the move hits his head on the ground. That's a DDT.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's dangerous, but it's very popularized nowadays, and I even implemented as one of my own finishers too. That's not
Interesting.
the one that I showed earlier. But yeah,
Wow.
yeah, I
I
think
am learning so much
Yeah.
about WWE.
yeah. I'll do two more super stuff.
Scrotal history,
Yeah.
the people, a lot of wrestlers that I'm probably not gonna remember.
Exactly.
Some
I'm gonna do two more finishers, and then we can continue on. So, Roman Reigns' finisher, and even this guy, if you know who Edge is, their finisher is the spear. Have you heard of the spear before?
nope.
Do you know what a football tackle is?
Yes.
You know what a spear is?
Okay, I am connecting the dots.
So
Okay.
basically, the opponent is like dazed. The one doing the spear stands in the corner, charges towards his opponent, leaps, and like basically tackles them to the ground.
He's going. The way he does it is as if he is the spear himself.
Yeah, basically, I think that's why it's called the spear.
He just
He
just
acts as the spear.
as he's running. He starts going horizontal, just like going at the
Yeah,
person.
exactly. That's what makes the move devastating. Because like some of the older wrestlers back in the day would actually full charge their body to their opponent, just like if they were actually doing a football tackle. Yeah, that's why it's called the spear.
Interesting.
And then I think I'm gonna save this best one for last, the Tombstone Pile Driver, popularized by none other than the Undertaker. Do you know how that move goes?
I've heard of the name. I don't remember what it looked like or how it goes.
So, the pile driver in general is one of the most dangerous moves. Heck, it even got Stone Cold Austin. It gave Stone Cold Austin a broken neck. So
Did he live or like?
no, he's still alive. So the way how the Tombstone Pile Driver goes is that Undertaker flips his opponent and carries them from the waist area. Right?
Oh, is it the one like the moment you flipped him, you just like drop?
Yeah, he
down?
drops down to his knees and plants his opponent's head on the ground.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. Pile driver.
Yep, and then wraps his arms and then sticks out his tongue. The referee counts 3. Yep, that's the Tombstone Pile Driver. One of, if not the one of the more iconic finishers in the WWE.
Oh, wow. That I was just reminded what the pile driver. Yeah, the pile.
Yeah,
Pile
the pile
driver.
driver. The pile driver in general is like one of the most dangerous moves out there. But yeah, at least you know a pile driver now. But I would never attempt it.
Don't never do. Yes.
Yeah, I've attempted on like wrestling dummies, but not like an actual person. I never want to do that. Unless if I get the proper training, then I'll do it.
You have to make it in a way where one, it doesn't like fatally injure the wrestler, and two, like
Exactly.
make it.
Because you
of
gotta
course,
make
it
sure.
look real, but like
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. Because wrestlers make it look so real. Because when they actually go out and do it, it actually looks so violent. But in reality, the goal that Undertaker's trying to do is protect his opponent without letting his head actually hit the ground.
How does he? How did he like protect the head like while
So
doing it?
about like that much of space before the head hits the ground.
Right.
So if you can't see my finger,
It's
like
like
that much
That's where
space.
it's like when he's going to. Looks like as if he's gonna hit the wrestler to the ground. That's how much space would be left. So like, and then
yeah. So basically, that's how it goes.
like
Because
doesn't actually.
yeah, if
touch
the move goes wrong, then the the wrestler taking the move could easily injure their neck.
Interesting.
There are various cases where other superstars took in like regular moves or even finishers that ended up doing really bad things to them. Like one other superstar also took a wrestling finisher and broke their neck in one of the most scariest of ways.
Seems like one of the most common injuries that can ever happen in wrestling.
Yeah. Oh, let me explain this one real quick. So, for those of you, this is AJ Styles' finisher. So he calls it the
This guy, right?
Yep, Styles Clash. First off, do you know what the power bomb position is, or power bomb in general?
Heard of it. Don't remember.
Okay, so quickly explain. So kick opponent, drag his head in between your legs, lift up so he's on your shoulders, and then you slam them to the ground. That's a power bomb.
I don't remember.
AJ Styles' variant isn't a power bomb, but it sort of gets into the position where he lifts his opponent up, the opponent's legs straddle across his shoulder. AJ goes over the opponent's arms and he falls forward.
Oh.
Yeah, and I think you can see where this is going. Yeah. The wrestler the wrestler taking the move landed it wrong, and because of that, his neck broke during the match. Yeah.
How?
Yeah, basically, anyone who takes that move, they're supposed to have their head tilted back. But a majority of the superstars know that they're supposed to tilt their head forwards. That's how they were trained to do it. Yeah, when you take certain wrestling moves, there's certain ways that you're supposed to have your head tilted. Otherwise, if you have it tilted in the wrong position, then you could easily break your neck. Hence, the wrestler taking that move broke his neck because he took the move wrong.
Wow.
Yeah. Again, there are other instances with like wrestlers doing stuff like that, but it'd be a long video as it is.
Like I said, I am learning quite a lot about WWE.
Yeah.
All these wrestlers that I'm not going to remember, some of these finishers and basic wrestling moves that I've heard of while growing up. Some of these platforms, the way their shows go. Interesting.
Mm-hmm. And if you want proof that wrestling isn't real, and for anyone who's watching right now, search up Undertaker versus Mankind, Hell in a Cell, and tell me if it's real or not.
Oh,
I will show you that next later. I'll show you that next later.
All right. Well, that is Ivan Chan's.
This is basically my episode.
Ivan Chan's guide to WWE, and whether if you know some of it or like me don't know anything about it, well, Ivan Chan explained it, and there's a lot, especially of course the wrestlers. I'm not gonna remember them all.
Yeah, eventually down the line, if I ever get you more interested in wrestling.
Very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I always thought of WWE as more like you got some famous characters and some famous wrestlers. They wrestle and then, of course, win. But I never really thought about more of the story and the
exactly
the plot and
exactly. Because what people think about when it comes to wrestling is that all the moves are fake, the storyline is fake, but what they don't understand is the meaning behind the story and the meaning behind how much work and effort the wrestlers put into the matches.
All that just to entertain the people.
Exactly.
All the fans, the audience, and anyone that decides to just randomly watch WWE. So.
Exactly. That's the overall message that we give. Or us wrestling fans give to non-wrestling fans. Hence why I'm explaining stuff like this.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And before we end this episode, would you like to talk about whatever the finisher that you came up with for yourself as a wrestler?
Okay, that's fine.
Try and reenact it right here.
Okay, so I have two variations.
Variations.
No, I wouldn't say variations. Well, technically I do for my first one. I have 4 of them actually, but I have 2 different finishers technically, one with 4. So what I call it, for those of you who don't know Vocaloid, I call it Bad End Night. It's one of the more popular Vocaloid
Bad
songs.
and night.
Bad, BAD, End, END, Night,
Bad and
NIGHT. And the reason why I have 4 variations is because there are 4 songs of it. Bad End Night, Crazy Night, Twilight Night, and Everlasting Night. Each of them getting worse and worse and worse.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So how do you incorporate this thing?
So
How would you do it?
So basically, the opponent has to be standing behind, or I try to find a way to get behind the opponent. Like, for example, if I were to wrestle you right now, I'd actually go like this. I'd actually lift you up over my shoulder like that. I had a crack. I don't want to go anymore. I don't want to go anymore. I don't know if that picked up on the mic.
You didn't actually have to do that. I was ready to
That's
pretend as if I was being picked up. Anyways, go on. Go
So
ahead.
I'll take you by the shoulder like that. So your body is actually like leaning sideways like this. Like what I'm doing with Brock Lesnar's move, the F5. I lift you up above my shoulders, and instead of like falling down with you on the ground, instead I stick one of my legs up like this, so you hit your face or your body hits my knee. So when you fall to the ground, it hits.
I'll be on the side when that happens, like just like.
Yeah. Nah. Well, for me, when I imagine it, the wrestler falls on their chest or their face onto my knee, and then they fall to the side. Yeah. Yeah, that's one of them. The other one,
By the way, those guys that don't know, that when he actually tried picking me up, that there was a crack sound that was coming from my, like it's not like
arm. I heard it.
like from my left arm, like
I felt
around
so bad.
here.
I felt so bad. That's why I stopped.
Not like he actually like snapped a bone or anything. It was just like one of those like where you would crack your
Yeah,
finger
crack your
kinda
fingers.
thing.
Yeah, that scared me because I actually
That
thought I cracked a
surprised-
bone.
I didn't think he was gonna actually pick me up.
Yeah, I was actually trying to pick you up.
I was just
to get,
gonna, like,
at
act
least
as-
show you how the position goes. That's the one.
Well, they definitely did,
Yeah.
and the results came in.
Yeah. And then the second move, I call it the icebreaker DDT. So basically, I kick you in the stomach or I knee you in the stomach. And the DDT that I showed you, so instead of like aiming, like grabbing your head and falling, I'd be
like-
actually running to you and then I fall down to the ground.
It's like the way I'm hearing is like you kick them or knee them,
Yep.
then you're coming at them, like you grab them
Yeah.
around.
Yeah. There's a specific way that I grab the opponent though, because it leads into my next move. A reason why. So I kick you down, so like you go down, and then when I run to you and I drop, my arm is wrapped like this, and my arms wrapped underneath your armpits like this, and I fall to the ground with you.
Oh, so I'm like going head.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
my gosh.
Yeah, exactly. But when you fall to the ground, I'm not done, because I go to my next move, and I call it the cryogenic lock.
Cryogenic.
Yeah, because it's a submission move. So what I do is grab my opponent from the head after taking the DDT, wrap my arms back around again, and lock my arm and my leg around them.
You're like constricting them.
Yeah, basically. And I lock them into position. And what makes it
Until
worse,
it's like,
and then what makes it worse for them is that if I play the role as the bad guy or the heel, I would roll over and use my elbows and smash their head until they tap out, or I force them to tap out.
although technically not like actually doing it, just make it look like it's real.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
I
That's how I
see.
imagine it.
Interesting. You planned this,
Yeah, that's how much I
That-
dedicated myself into wrestling.
and I got some results out of that.
Yeah. Again, it's not just me too. Like my brother's into wrestling. One of our friends from church is into wrestling. Yeah.
I was not only that when you picked me up, I was scared that if I like hit your
Yeah,
belt,
my
so
son and everything falls over.
I was like,
You're not responsible for any damages that has been dealt with.
I was like, I don't think he would actually do it next to his shelf of figurines, expensive figurines and whatnot. So that surprised me. But
But yeah, those are my finishers.
Interesting. I'll have to come up with mine. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll have to think
Oh,
real
before-
hard about it.
Before I forget too, my wrestler name is Icy Cool.
I wonder.
Yeah, just in case you guys are...
Cryogenic. What's it called? Cryogenic.
Cryogenic lock.
Cryogenic lock, of course. No
Yeah.
wonder. Icy
Icy Cool.
Blue?
So the way
Icy-
how I spell it is capital ICY and then capital COO capital L. Icy Cool.
Interesting. Interesting. Not you're like the cold ice kind of
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah, so if I'm the bad guy, that's why.
And it's so to me it's like funny and interesting because Ivan Chen depicts himself as that kind of guy with icy and all that.
Yep.
And for me, the way I like to have my avatars and all that is as a fiery guy, a pyro kind of guy. So
Yeah.
so what an interesting.
It could work out in your favor if you find a name that fits for yourself, though.
I probably have came up with a few in the past,
There
but
you
I'll
go.
have to. I'll
Yeah.
have to.
Yeah, because I didn't think of Icy Cool until like later. Until.
But for the time being, I am the red guy.
There you go. I mean, it's not that bad. So.
It's not bad. It's just that there's other people that
Yeah.
would consider themselves the red guy.
If I were to ask you, though, if you were to come out to an entrance music, no matter where you go, what song would it be?
I don't know. I would have to think about that, choose it, whether if it would fit for my character wrestling title and all that. I'll have to think about that. How do I want to depict myself when it comes, whether if I'm a good guy or a baby face or a heel.
Yeah.
So,
For me, I already have my songs chosen, and I could play them both as a babyface or a heel. So.
okay,
Yeah.
interesting.
For those in case you are wondering, if you know Vocaloid, my first one, if I'm in WWE, the song is called Sand Planet by HACHI. The other one, if I'm outside of WWE or in the indies as they say, it's called Nakakapagpabagabag by Dasu.
I'm not even gonna try.
I'll probably play those songs
I'm
later
not
for you
even
too.
gonna try.
I got so much stuff to show you later on tonight, man. The Rock, Mankind versus Undertaker. My wrestling songs. Holy
All
moly.
right. Well, I think that we can conclude today's episode.
Yeah.
Learn quite a for not just me,
Hopefully all you
and
guys
those
too.
that are watching learning about WWE. Now you have a broader idea of how it works, what exactly they do, and some of the things that can happen in WWE. So,
And to show you how much I truly appreciate wrestling as a genre and as a whole, rather than like a sport. Just like how
Yeah.
like people view their sports teams.
yeah, very much.
But yeah, and honestly, I wasn't expecting to be talking about like wrestling stuff today. I was hoping to do like more like Vocaloid stuff, but maybe for like a future.
You'll see it in a future episode.
Yeah, because
That's-
I'm definitely like into that topic too. Let alone like anime hot takes, like basically whatever you're gonna be talking about with me next time. So
Yes.
I think we should keep that a secret though. So figure out next time.
indeed.
But yeah, I think we should wrap it up here. No.
Yeah. A lot has happens. Me getting cracked and learning a lot of other, a lot of things.
Wrestling
And
as a whole.
would you like to hold your good old championship belt before we conclude? Actually conclude.
Yeah. As a champion.
Yeah, he beat it. He cracked. Yeah, not he beat him. He was just like. So yeah.
Yeah. So again, thank you for watching today's episode, and also thank you to the one who gave me this belt. I don't want to shout out your name until I have your permission, but again, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys tune in next time for our next episode, whether if it's a discussion or a game. All right.
Yes.
Coolio. All right. Bye, guys.
Peace. I see the weeps.
Peace.